Hey guys, Dion with Your Guitar Academy here. So in today's lesson, we're moving on a tad from your classic minor and major pentatonic blues vocabulary, and we're going to start introducing some slightly more complex tonal sounds. So we're going to introduce some kind of Dorian tonalities over a minor blues. And also, I want to show you how to bring in some of these Eric Johnson inspired sort of wide interval 10th, very modern sounds within your playing. So Joe Bonamassa is highly influenced by that. So I thought it'd be a great thing to chat to you about. So grab your guitar and let's get going. Just joined us, don't forget to head over to the website for all the additional materials, including tab, backing tracks, chord charts, and anything else to go with this course. Also, if you're enjoying the course, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button underneath the video, and let us know in the comments how you're getting on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's the solo that we're going to be covering today. So in this first lesson, I want to take you through how to play that first lick. But first of all, let's just set the scene a little bit. So chords wise here, we've got a standard kind of minor blues sort of sound in C minor. So the chords there are going to be C minor 7, F minor 7, back to C minor 7. Then we have G minor 7, F minor 7, C minor 7. Bear in mind, it does start with that kind of that sort of power chord, rocky sort of thing to start with, which I thought was quite reminiscent of Joe Bonamassa's sort of sound. So the main thing that I want to talk about today is obviously over this style of blues, you can play your standard minor pentatonic stuff, but I wanted to bring in some slightly different tonalities. So let me play this first lick for you, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. So we start off here. It's quite a long phrase, that one, so bear in mind all of that is over your one chord, so that's all over your first chord, your C minor 7, okay? So what's happening here, we're bringing in this idea of 10th, so you might be thinking, right, what on earth is a 10th? So basically, a 10th is just a third, but it's the octave up, so remember a third is just when you, that interval there, so you can have a minor third or a major third. In this case, we're taking that minor third, shifting it up an octave, and you get this really nice sort of sound that, as I said earlier, Eric Johnson is super famous for, and obviously Joe Bonamassa is a massive Eric Johnson fan, so it's just a really nice thing to bring into your playing to get quite a modern sound. So what I'm also playing here that I should mention is I'm playing the 5th as well. So the intervals that we have is root, which is our C, on the 10th fret of D, 12th fret on G, which is our 5th of C, and then the 10th, which is the minor third up an octave, okay? So fingers wise, I'm using first finger, third finger, second finger, okay? And I've added in kind of a little bit of palm muting at the start there, so you don't have to do that, but I quite like the sound. You know, it sounds nice either way. So from there, we're gonna play that, slide into the root note, into the tonic, 10th fret of D, and then you bring those 3 notes in quick succession. So I play down, down, up, picking wise. And then that's the next note. So from there, I'm pulling off from fret 11 down to fret 10 on the high E. That's finger 2 and 1 there. Okay, this little shape here, that fits quite nicely under the fingers. So that's the next part of the lick. So I'm going 11, 10 on E, then 13, 11 on B. So once again, Okay, so that's our nice little starting point. And then we have to go, so we're coming downwards there to fret 10 on the G, okay? So that's kind of falling into that classic sort of minor pentatonic sort of shape, but also moving, you know, you can slide that note up there to bring yourself into the top of shape 2. So do notice that I'm always trying to think of stuff in a pentatonic way. That's just the way my mind works, but it's also the way that I think you should think about a blues in that way. Just think of fitting everything into your pentatonic shapes, okay? So once again. So what I've done there is 10 sliding up to 12 on G, down to 10, down to 8, and then 10 back up to 12, excuse me. Okay, then my first finger is coming back down to that root note, the 10th fret on D. Okay, now this is where something interesting happens. So if you were sticking to your standard pentatonic shapes, you would go. Okay, so that's moving from the root note. If you want to talk theory, that's the root note moving to the flattened 7th. But we're going to bypass that. We're going to go down to fret number 7 on the D. Okay, so that kind of probably piques your ear as being a bit of an interesting sounding note. So what we're doing is we're borrowing that note from our Dorian scale, okay? So that note is the 6th, or you can call it the 13 if you play it up the interval, okay? So once again. And you can hear over the C, that kind of gives it a little bit more of a sophisticated, maybe slightly jazzier sort of sound. And then we go back up to 10, and to finish this first phrase, okay, I'm back into the sort of classic bluesy sort of phrasing, and I use my 3rd finger on the 10th fret of A, really quick slide, so that's something you're going to see a lot of throughout this course, really quick slide down to the 8th fret, and then pull off to the 6th fret, and you want to give that one of those tiny little tweak bends. So again, that's bending from the flat 3rd to the major 3rd. Again, really, really kind of common bluesy sort of thing to do. So once again, let me just recap that phrase. So let me just try it a bit slower with the drum machine, and you can kind of hear it in a bit more context. So I'm going to go, let's go for about 70. I think that should do. Maybe, in fact, maybe slightly slower. I'm going to go down to 60, just so you can hear how it's all working. So we're starting right on beat 1 in this one. 3, 4, and. And there we go. That's lick 1 of this solo. Okay, so I'm just going to play that through a few times now with the drum beat so you can really ingrain it in your mind. So I'm going to go up from 60, maybe bring it up to about 70, and I'm going to loop it probably 4 times. Might put a bit of gain on as well. It's always quite fun with that. Okay, here we go. Remember, in on beat 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can try again. Let me just pause there for a second, because there's one key thing there that I'm doing. You hear that little part there? I'm doing a really quick pull off there. That's from the 12th fret of G to the 10th fret of G. So yeah, that sort of thing is what really kind of can add a bit more expression to your solo. So let me just try it again. So it messed that last line up there, but it almost acts in the same way as that quick slide that we're doing at the end there. Okay, and again, don't be afraid to, if you wanted to, you can hold on to that last note a little bit longer. Let me just talk a little bit more about these shapes that I'm talking about with the 10ths, okay? So again, bear in mind the actual shape that I'm using in this particular lick, as I said, is fret 10 on the D string, fret 12 on the G, fret 11 on the high E. So as you can see, my fingers, I'm using 1, 3, 2. So that is your flattened 3rd sound, or your flattened 10th sound, if you want to call it that, okay? if you want to turn it into a regular third over a major chord, you can just bring your fourth finger in on the fret above there. So you might be thinking, right, how am I going to use these in my solos? So obviously I'll talk a bit more as I progress with this solo, because there's a couple more of these that are going to crop up. But just imagine it of if you've got a C minor chord, you could use that shape over a C minor chord. If you've got a C major chord, you could use the major shape over a C major chord. Same for any chord. So say you've got a G minor chord, you could use that shape, or a G major chord, you could use the major shape. So all that's changing is this idea of this note moving up or down a semitone, okay? So bear in mind it is quite a specific sound, and it's a very, very modern sound. So like anything, you might want to use it sparingly, but I think it adds a real kind of bit of interest to certain solos when you intersperse it with this bluesy vocabulary. So as always, try your best to get that lick together at a slow speed, bring the speed up, and then I'll see you in the next video for the next lick. Thanks so much for watching this course. If you're enjoying, please don't forget to let us know in the comments section. If you want to move on to the next section of the course, click here. And if you want to start from the beginning, click here.